Hello everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing okay. Just getting ready for this stream. I was playing Fuhrer Redux, I suppose, formerly Fuhrer Redux, and got a optical migraine for the first time in my life, which was crazy. But I think I'm okay. If for whatever reason I start to not respond, maybe hospital is required. We'll see. Hi, Random Brett. Hi, copyright infringement. Mormon Jesus. Okay, interesting. This is a very interesting chat here. 7 people waiting for a live stream. YouTuber 16k subs. I mean, I could be doing better, I suppose, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm here to share with you Ceasarreich. This is not. This isn't Imp Twilight yet. But we need to get a little bit of understanding of what's going on here. So, do I have a Twitch? Yes, I do, and I usually do gaming stuff. I used to do it weekly, but last couple of weeks have been tough. I might do it again. But this is just a little context because this is like Ceasarreich when it first came out, and this mod was worked on in 2019. This is a very, very old mod. It's probably the oldest mod that I think we'll do. Or at least have such an intimate understanding of what happened here, because I was involved in this mod's development when it was initially founded. So look here. So they still have Zapadoslavia, they have Poland, and there's a lot of like weird things with this map. You could be like, oh, it's alternate history, but I really like the way that modern Ceasarreich does it now. But this is the sort of idea that was being introduced when we were like that. This is what we were working off of, right? So we had a lot of really interesting ideas. One of them was that Turkey would just be the Germany of this timeline, in the sense that it would be occupied by several different powers, including Stalin's clique, which is pretty funny. We had a Soviet Civil War happening at the beginning of the game, which we'll get into why that doesn't really make much sense. We had this division of Italy and Hungary and Serbia and all that stuff. I don't remember why Serbia still existed like this. I think that they would probably divide it further if Serbia was the antagonist. Well, you haven't even seen anything yet, Hensley. This is China, what we had. I think it was Japan subjugating China like usual. But we also had the idea of a Warlord India. I talked about this in my Kalterkreig video. What happened to Turkey, they joined the Stal Pact and tried taking over everything, and then everybody wanted occupation. Anyway, so this is the idea here. This is made by somebody else did this. Like literally the name of the guy is somebody else did this. He's like, I think he's from India. But I don't know if we'll be doing this stuff, because there's a lot of problems. But yeah, this is the worst part of Imperial Twilight. The worst and most interesting part of Imperial Twilight is that Germany would be divided, like balkanized. You know how that's a decision in the occupations that you could do if you beat Germany as France, and maybe even Britain. You can just divide it up among like regional identities. So Czechia, I think Zapadoslavia by that point had actually been removed. These are all old ideas, and all these HD maps are made by Deathlord Pyro, as you can see here. The idea is that we would like break it apart so that, because it was kind of like the way that Greece was done, but not by the beginning of the game. So this is the sort of idea, right, where there's the Greek occupation, French occupation, Italian occupation. The same sort of thing was supposed to happen here, where like this is British, French, Italian, maybe French, maybe Italian, French. This was independent, and then this was, I think, also French. So I think it was like, if I can quickly do that. Yeah, okay, people are freaking out right now. Yeah, this isn't usually what you see on my channel, right? Like, this is really not very good. So I think it was like, and then Britain had this, but you can tell there's obviously like problems with this already, right? Like, how would they have a pathway here? How would France go up like this? Yeah, hands, I know, right? There's so many problems with it. Like, it's crazy. But these are all of our ideas, right? Not the best. What was really cool, and the one thing, if I had to pick a core thing that we want to keep for this version of the hypothetical mod, is the Imperial Federation. This is this is made by Bobbert Canuck. He's somebody who's been active in the Hearts of Iron 4 modding community for a while now. And he made I think this is like an old version of it too. But it's supposed to be a shield that represents every major region of the Imperial Federation. So Canada, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, don't know what that is. Australia, this might be New Zealand. The British Raj, South Africa, the Caribbean, Terra Nova, Donifet. I don't know what this is. I think that might be Newfoundland. Islamic art homework. That's cool. Like you have to do calligraphy. Yeah, West Indies. Okay, cool. Right, yeah, because Britain controls it in this time. So I want to see if I can find this is the Fury map. This is the. Yeah, I need to find the actual like map of the thing itself. Let me see if I have it in my folder here. My several folders. What is this one? Yeah, okay. So this is what the map was. So you're gonna see a lot of crazy stuff here, right? So the main thing is that there's the Imperial Federation. It controls the seized territories of Denmark. I can't remember why that was a thing. Canada, their West Indies, Africa, Middle East. They control Ceylon, but they don't control India. They claim it. They have this Dutch East Indies, but British East Indies, and then Australia and New Zealand. But the Boers exist here. There's a different shade of color here and here. I don't remember why. I think one of them might be a Portuguese government in exile. Another one isn't, or something. I don't remember. This is supposed to be a British puppet, I think. But you can tell like the person who made this map did not do a very good job, because they used the administrative modern day map over top of this. They have this like Albanian protectorate, but then Greece controls this, and it's very very weird. Like if there's like obvious border issues, just take it as it is. The borders suck, right? Apparently the shield, the 7-point star is Australia, and the red Southern Cross is New Zealand. Thank you for that. Why does France have all Morocco and West Sahara? I don't know. I think it had to do with like the Spanish Civil War. Oh yeah. The Iberian Commune exists, but the Spanish Republic exists in exile. But the Iberian Commonwealth, I think what we had the lore-wise for the way that the World War happened is that France was about to die, but then Iberian Commonwealth, because the Soviet Union was invaded, supported France, and then Britain jumped in way late, so they just jumped in and took that region, right? So nonsensical, right? Like, no, like there's so much to this, right? I think that the developers, they really wanted to be like a successor to Fuhrreich's wackiness, when especially nowadays the Fuhrreich is a little more mature, although maybe it's not. I don't know. I tried playing it and I had like the Golden Dawn Greece defeat Turkey, when the Golden Dawn is a modern day organization. There's just a lot of things that don't really make much sense, and it was probably worth like a critique if I'm so bold as to even do anything like that. You're wondering how Vulkis Germany lost in this timeline. Well, that's the thing. I totally forget. And I think one of the reasons why I forgot is because it didn't matter how they lost. No, that's not true. I think that we did care, but we thought that a British-French Cold War was really interesting. We wanted to pursue it. And there's some merit to the scenario that I'll go into. Maybe there's a Mexican Civil War here. Probably doesn't make sense, but and also the Soviet Civil War, also White Russia existing so large, and there's a lot of things that I would do differently, right? A single okay. Okay, so the idea is that Italy would be a part of this continental entente, right? It would be these people, and they divided influence in Germany, and it would include Poland too. So it's basically like everybody's a friend until they're not, right? Like it's a huge friendship. So I won't even bother mapping that. But then Britain doesn't want to be involved in the European Union. Shocker, right? They don't want to be a part of the European Union. Italy also doesn't want to be a part of the European Union. And they and their friends, probably even Bavaria, are like, no thanks, we're good. I don't know what happened here, but these are their friends, right? But even if these people, like Italy's probably even just in their own faction, but then it's like a fight for influence, especially in areas like in Germany here. If France is controlling basically as much of the of Germany as possible, it would be like this. You can see why this doesn't make sense, right? There's no connection here. But if they manage to control most of Germany and then Bavaria still exists, it's like, well, why aren't you a part of Germany? There's an influence thing here. Austria probably has more claim to not be Germany. Both these people have claims not to be Germany, whatever. But it's like, what's going on here? And then we had the idea of Poland and Czechia. They split Silesia and then they formed Zapadoslavia again because they just removed Zapadoslavia, right? And they could either go British or they could go French. And I think, I remember this now. I totally forgot. There was 4 eyes that were supposed to resemble each ideology. And I'll do gray for one. And they're supposed to have an animal associated with it for an icon. This is the coolest thing about it. So, and I think there's interventionism, which is like this. Well, I don't know. It's because I didn't have good, or whoever made this, I don't remember if it's me or not, didn't have good geography. Okay, so there's 4 eyes. The intervention, hold on, why am I writing it when I have a text? Interventionism. That was like the not aligned but angry, so like potentially like Vulkists. Isolationism. Isolationism. I know how to spell. There's isolationism, which is supposed to be like America, which is like why America is not involved. And it was like supposed to be like Huey Long or something. He's just like, I don't care. Then there was Imperial, hold on. So this Kremlin font, if it's not capitalized, it does a faux Cyrillic. So I have to like make sure I do it all caps. So imperialism would be the British, and then it would be the French who were internationalism. So it's just crazy to think because you usually assume communism is internationalism, but I don't remember why we did it. But these are the 4 main ideologies, are like things that you could be aligned with, right? Faux really jumps here. Yeah, hold on, I'm checking out here. But yeah, everything here is like, yeah, oh yeah, right. You're right. The very keen eye. Kaliningrad or East Prussia was supposed to be like a Vulkist exile government. There's so many bad things with this mod. Like it kind of deserved not to be developed, right? But then again, why is it so bad, right? Like what could these people have done better, right? I say these people. I was involved in some way. Lorem ipsum would wait for France. Hold on. Yeah, sorry, I'm not gonna be able to read chat. I'm in the flow right now. So there was 4 ideologies, and the ideologies, if I remember them correctly, were usually applied like. Remember, this is not gonna look good because they have all the things here. So they have this. Oh god, this is a problem. Is because like it worked for France. And it's okay. This is disgusting. We're not even gonna try that. It worked for France in its sphere of influence, but it just didn't work everywhere else, right? Like what ideology is Japan? Like it made sense in the sense that you had to make sure that if there was a major power, it had to pick a side. But what side is Japan on? I think that Japan would be on the side of the British, because you see here they divided influence in there, so they have a complete dominance over here, and maybe even Russia, right? So this is already very unbalanced. Then you have France, who could, I think that we had France potentially signing up with one of the Soviet unions. So I'll just do this. And then there's Georgia, which was like Stalin, right? So in this, oh, what the? Okay, what? This is the same color as the British for some reason, I think. That's crazy. Yeah, anyway, so they would be united on this, right? What? Oh my god, this is crazy. This map is very poorly made. Can Japan be intervention? They could be, yeah, I think. Look at Pex and C. Big Ben uses 4. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you guys are having our conversations here. Okay, so one this is very chaotic. There's a couple more things I'll point out. One of them is that this was a native Incan revolt that kind of gets dumpstered on by all of its neighbors, but Japan could get involved because it's like the natives modernizing against the colonizers, which is like a Japanese similarity to these guys, which we thought was pretty interesting. Let alone, like, it's still very not plausible, right? But and then Hungary is supposed to have their they were supposed to have a Yugoslavia style breakup, like a collapse, and then that's how Zapadoslavia could be formed, as if Poland and Czechia get involved, and then they like make their own isolationist away from the French or British. And then I think that, like, if Poland stayed Poland, it could go British or something, because it might want some stuff off of here. I don't remember exactly what happened, and a lot of the things that there weren't many conflicts that made sense. Especially when it's a double-bind Cold War, which is very hard to pull off, and we might not even be able to pull it off. And we'll get into talking about it. Anyway, so here we have a Greece. The occupation lines aren't properly drawn. I'm gonna pull up that HD map again by I'll find the guy's name on the sheet here. That's not. Let me pull it up. This is by Deathlord Pyro again. So yes, the Anatolian division sucks, and we'll probably make a better one. But this is one of the most interesting parts of this that I wanted to talk about. That really plays into the whole imperialism aspect, right? So you have Turkey occupied by all these people. You could have it where Italy and France were both like, okay, let's make a neutral Turkey, and we'll do it properly this time. Maybe Italy is even like, I don't actually want this coastal colony. It didn't do a lot for me, so I'm going to withdraw. Great. So then there's a Franco-Italian thing, but what about Greek? The Greeks wouldn't really want their Anatolian gains to go away. They would have Greeks, probably minorities. I know there's a lot over here in Pontus. They'd have Greek minorities that would be like, I want to be a part, but at least that would be how they justify it, right? And then, like, they would just refuse to withdraw. Yes, we'll fix this Anatolia, don't worry. They would refuse to withdraw, which then would cause a problem where Greece has all this land, there's a Turkey here, there's separatists happening here, so then it's a internationalism versus imperialism conflict. So you have the British, probably from royal marriages like they had with the Greek monarchy in our timeline, becoming direct allies of the British. Maybe even like incorporated into the Imperial Federation some way, right? So then you have a conflict here. Italy could then break off and do its own thing. They just withdraw from here, maybe go isolationist. There's a lot of things here, and then so last thing before we get into my attempts to recreate it. So we have Stalin here. There's a path for Georgia where you can get Stalin involved and then like reconquer the Soviet Union. I don't know if the latest Fuhrer does it, but we'll do this. So I like this a lot. We want to keep it, I think. Like a Transcaucasian Federative Socialist Republic just hanging out here, Stalinistic. Might get involved with other places. I wouldn't dare say that it's like the Burgundy of this timeline. That's ridiculous. They wouldn't have the capability to do that. But I think that it would be an interesting like hermit state, especially with the oil and they get involved in all their neighbors' conflicts. Could be interesting. So let's look at my attempt to recreate this. As you can tell, there's a lot of things that are different. Please tell me how to divide up Anatolia properly, Hensley, because I have no idea how to do this. This is my second attempt. But it's also supposed to not really make too much sense because it's just temporary occupations, but we used to have to get the Pontics from Eastern Anatolia separated by the Stalin. Yeah, so this is the Pontic peoples here. But it would be like Stalin would be like, oh, it's not too bad, right? Like it's like a thing. And then it's like, but no, I want this. These guys are communists. Guys, back me up. It's like, oh, I want to get out of here. We're being occupied. We're being besieged by the British. I don't want to be involved in this. You guys gotta go. There was somebody else at Hensley. I would like to get your opinion though. Indy, the lead dev of Imperial, what was it called? Twilight Struggle, is here, which is really cool. Good to see you. But this is my second attempt. This is like from a long time ago, actually. I don't really remember everything that I did. So this is like the first version, right? And then we were like, no, we want this instead. So this is actually something I reused in German October, if you remember that. So there's a little bit more sense being made here in the sense of if it is divided up by the French and the British and the Italians, the British at least, the French at least have a way to reach their Brandenburg prize. But then it could be that Poland is involved. Yeah, right. Instead of this being a Vulkist outpost, it's actually just Polish, right? The Polish have it here. Hold on. If Greeks gonna take something, only take part of Izmir, but I don't think they're gonna take everything in Western Anatolia. Yeah, I don't think that they would either, but content, right? Like, it could be that they're too stubborn to let go, or they don't want a Turkish state to exist, or whatever. Then there's a conflict and there's a civil war. There's something people can get involved in, right? Like, not if everybody acted completely rationally, we wouldn't be human and we wouldn't be living the world we live in. So I agree that there's a plausible thing that you need to do. They're not just going to annex it fully, but yeah, we'll see. Polish Kaliningrad, well, that's actually supposed to be like the Polish invited the Teutons over to help them with the Lithuanian heretics, and then they just didn't leave. And they're like, actually, I want to stay German. I want to be my own independent state. And then they're like, no, shut up. Become a vice royalty or whatever, a vassal. But then they have a personal union with Brandenburg, and then they go on and bully the Poles for years. It's like, this is like their most reasonable claim, right? Greece would want to reclaim Constantinople. This is probably one of the first instances of like the conflict, right? They go like, actually, I want Constantinople. Everyone's like, oh. But Britain's like, hell yeah, brother, let's secure the straits so that we can get through here. And France, they're like, no, you shouldn't want to do that. Blah, blah, blah. And then they have a fight over it, right? So we could do that. But anyway, so the French go up here. The Polish could get even Pomerania, and the Danish get Hansa here, right? Why doesn't Greece just have it? Well, I don't know. I like the idea of them annexing it during gameplay and then it being like a surprise, but it would always happen. Like, I don't know. They probably would just annex it. It makes sense. Is this Israel? It is. Not sure if Israel would exist in this timeline. The Zionists would obviously exist, but I don't know about that. Here's a better, like more Lordad style of map of the Indian partition over here. We have all these warlords and yeah. Okay, so what are we gonna do with this? There's a lot going on here and I don't really know where to begin. I want to get your guys' thoughts, but I am also going to pull up Hoi 4 quickly so that we can look at the more recent version of Imperial Twilight. I haven't played around with this. I've been very busy, especially with I don't know, there's just so much going on in my life. Oh, this is cool. I think this is a KR portrait. It's cool that KR shares their stuff. If you guys are modders and you don't know, Kaiserreich is okay with you using their visuals as long as you credit them. So you can you can get like non-AI, good, high-quality made portraits, and as long as you credit them, they're good with it. I'm pretty sure that's right. Oh yeah, here. So there's this international straits organization that they included now. I think it like immediately falls apart. I don't know for sure. But yeah, this Ottoman Empire, I think that the path that they went down, oh. Interesting, so they don't even have any content. I remember in the past they could go Vulkist. So there's a lot of things that we need to figure out in order to make this work, because like I said, the problem that this mod had is that they were too busy trying to make the scenario be cool, rule of cool, rather than it have a coherent foundation. If you don't have a coherent foundation, then you are going to have to consistently rework your work over and over and over again with new information or new updates, because Fuhrreich was updating and then we had to adjust to what Fuhrreich was doing, and then it just falls apart. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like there needs to be a solid foundation for this to work. Well, okay, they removed I don't think that they necessarily removed it. I think that, I don't know, maybe they did, but I think it's a little different, right? I don't know. Yeah, well, this isn't too much, because I think I have a point with this. Sorry, I'm a little, just need a minute. Okay, so, I need a minute, I take 2 seconds. The British Imperial Federation is the core aspect of this mod, right? What did you miss? Oh god, I don't even know how to begin. The very badly made 2019 mod that we're trying to revive somehow. So we have here the British holdings in Africa, West Indies, Middle East, all these things. These places, not the Africa sector, and I think only not the Africa and the Middle Eastern sector, and I think maybe even the North Sea sector. All these British colonies things, or maybe not Ceylon too, or this, yeah. So basically, all this stuff that's red right now on the map is going to be cored by the British. They have a imperial federal model. So in the way that it works, let me see if maybe I'll pull it up. Was it stream starting soon? Yeah. So let's be a little night mode today. So the way that the Statute of Westminster worked was that there was I don't know if this is exactly how it works. So keep in mind. So there's the crown. And it's like, I'm the British, yay, but I have all these colonies, and they're really far away, and they want self-rule. I don't want to lose them like I lost the Americans. So there's Canada, there's New Zealand, there's Australia, there's South Africa, and I think that's all the dominions. Yeah, and then no, I think that's all of them. But the idea was that they all have their own governments, they all have their own prime ministers, they all have their own parties, and they're all basically independent countries. But then they go to the monarch or whatever, right? They're pretty self-governing. This structure made it so that the British Empire could collapse pretty effortlessly, because then Canada's like, hey, pretty please, could you maybe make me independent? Okay, but you have to pay me royalties. Yay, Canada's independent now. Woo! And then, yeah. So that's how Canada got independent. They just asked politely. But the context is that, like, Britain lost all of its economy, whatever, got really worn out from fighting the Second World War. Thank God. So now the Americans are up and they're like, hey, we need to chill out with this imperialism stuff. And then Britain's like, okay, I'll give independence to everywhere. So that's why the British have the most independence days granted out of all countries, right? So in the Imperial Federation proposal, which I think was even proposed in like before World War I, there's the British monarchy, there's the British, there's the Canadians, the New Zealand, the I won't say British, I'll say the UK. So the UK is a Kanzuk with also South Africa, New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, and they'd all be a state in a federative model under the crown, right? So instead of it being that there's a prime minister that's isolated in their own country, it's actually that there's ministers for the UK, the Canadians, the New Zealand, the South African, and the Australians, but then there's a super duper prime minister who could even be elected from any of these dominions, but is like the person who's like running the government for the king, right? This is really interesting because then it implies that all these places would be core territories. And then what do you do when it's South Africa and there's decolonization movements rapidly organizing, trying to get you out of their country, but you want to keep it because of all the cool resources here? You know, another thing that could actually happen, and I think this is what we were talking about, because you know the whole Rhodesian conflict. Rhodesia could become a federative model inside the Imperial Federation. It's like, what? That's crazy. Like, that level of colonization and imperialism in the 50s is ridiculous, right? It would be Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, right? Like, the most realistic outcome is that it's Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, and maybe even they go, okay, maybe we'll stop being so racist. But like, that's the only way that it would exist. And even if it was less racist, the structures that would be in place to enforce that sort of government, it's just very unethical. We don't like this. But that's what would actually happen if there was a Imperial Federation in the 1950s who was really nationalistic and stubborn and was fighting a Cold War with somebody who was supporting anti-colonization measures, right? So that is actually something that would happen. It's pretty interesting to consider. Another thing that's interesting to consider is, let me make a notes. Another interesting thing to consider that I find interesting about this timeline is that there wouldn't be like in League of Nations mandates. So I don't know if this is true or not, but I don't think there's a League of Nations in the Fearreich timeline. If there was, I don't know if they would even allow anything like what they actually managed to do in Fearreich's like division of everything. So like, I don't know, it's pretty crazy. So that means that these British colonies they caught over here, they have no intention of making them independent, right? Like, no, these are our colonies. So then that makes the fact like that in this timeline we don't even have a Soviet Union that's supposed to be powerful. Like, why don't we have one, right? Like, well, it's because we want a British-French Cold War. That's the whole point. That's what Imperial Twilight is. I would argue probably might not want to do this, right? The reason why we might not want to do this is because how does a Cold War work when they're literally just a pond away, right? Like, what is the Cuban Missile Crisis when they could make a missile here and it covers the entirety of the British thing, and vice versa? Like, that kind of doesn't work. Like, it could be that we have to have a different antagonist for this to work. But then it also could be, it's like, well, if the British and French Cold War can't exist the way that it is now, you could, instead of having it be that the British are the people who fight, could be the French and the Soviets instead. But then you miss out on this balkanized Germany, because then the Soviets wouldn't just balkanize Germany. They would actually want to set up a puppet government, and then they would set up a puppet government that's unified, and then, oh, it's just the same thing, but Britain's a backseat player. But wait, backseat player, the British were a backseat player in the Second World, in the Cold War too. So it's a little difficult. Would they just be frenemies? It's possible, but then we're kind of looking like the Red Order right now. Hold on. So I don't know much about the Red Order. I know that it initially started off as a TNO continuation, but I'm very confident that they've since been severely distancing themselves from TNO. What's the top of all time? Let's see if there's a map that I can pull up here. There's like, Yeah, I can't find it, but oh wait, maybe this is it. The World in 1962. Okay, let's just do this. So new, but use a clipboard. So I don't know much about this, and this is probably really outdated. It's 4 years ago, but you have the British and the French empires still existing. The states aligned with the UN. What? ECOODCU, United Commonwealth, the Republic. Okay, so it's a three-way Cold War. That's really interesting. So the British and French are their own, the United States are their own, and the Soviet Union is their own. That's pretty cool. And this works pretty well because then it like makes sense, like they now had to fight over influence over these people, and then it would become a two-way Cold War once one of these factions was eliminated. But if we had to be honest, it would be the European one that would be the most likely to fall apart. And that's a really cool scenario, and I tip my hat off to the Red Order. This seems really cool, and I would really recommend that you guys check out the Red Order. It's a pretty interesting mod. Is it for the Great War? Yeah, that's... Yeah, the Imperial Federation would only work if it was before World War I think. And no alternate history can escape a Cold War? Yeah, not on this channel. Yeah, so I'm gonna... if people could ask their questions now, I will actually read them, because I've just been in such a... I've been locked in trying to get this situation to work, so... Red Order mostly Bukharin led the USSR, and the UK disliked decolonization. Yeah, I believe so. I think that's the most simple way to explain it. Would a USA have a civil war? I don't think we had them having a civil war, or we might have, and it would be the best way to ensure that they weren't involved in World War II. I have different ideas that I'm starting to come up with what we could do with the USA. Britain and France combined would be able to win their histories along with them. Okay, their history doesn't matter. Like, the Soviet Union has way more constituent resources, a more modern ideology. Their colonies are like ripe for revolts for two different benefactors. They're not doing so hot. Like, yeah, it would make sense for them to last for another decade, but they would be on the back foot, I think. What's different about Ireland? So the British would have just incorporated it as a de jure part of the Imperial Federation. So there'd be a Crown of Ireland, and they'd have a minister and all that. It would be because the Imperial Federation, I think Fuhrreich already has them occupying Ireland, and then if they aren't involved in World War II for a long time, it would include putting down the Irish Rebellion, which would then be funded by the French, which is just another conflict, right? What would USA do in Imperial Twilight? So they were gonna be isolationist and just like wholesome, like build up everything is happy because we don't want them to be involved. But that doesn't make much sense because of how powerful they would be if they were just like able to trade with all these people and develop their economy. What if the Russian Republic replaces the Soviets? That might work, actually. It would make more sense, and then there'd be more opportunities for Eastern Europe to be a point of contention. But if the problem is the nucleus of the Cold War is here, and then all the way over there, and then what is Russia doing? And then who's Russia friends with? So there's a lot of things that aren't really working out here. Why does the USA lose territory from Mexico? Oh, because we didn't map it properly. Probably. Yeah, this little thing here. I don't think this is supposed to be Mexican. I think it's just something. Yeah, hi Paulina, I saw Russian Republic. Yeah. A right-wing Russian Republic? Yeah, that could work. Like a nationalistic one, and this also isolationist. But then, so then we, like, you see the problem, right? Like, we're taking the two biggest superpowers of our timeline. We're putting them in a situation where we're forcing them to make stupid decisions just so that the British and French can duke it out. Doesn't make much sense. The World War Zero mod. What if this Cold War doesn't have nuclear weapons? So it could be a threat. Yeah, maybe. That makes more sense because if we, the way that I described this in my other videos is, you can make it like TNO, or you can make it like Thousand Week Reich. Thousand Week Reich, they have nukes, but it's not mutually assured destruction. In TNO, it is. But we could go further. Yeah, there's no nukes. There's just nobody has the knowledge to do it. And if they do, it's like the Americans, but then the Americans just win the Cold War, right? We've had the South supported by the Brits and the Social Democratic North try to rebuild the Imperial Federation. In what context? The South and North of what? France? Why did my dad leave my family? I don't know. I'm sorry. Around Buryatia, Chita, and Manchuria. The U.S. needs to stay isolationist. America has a war in Fury. Yes, America fights Mexico, right? And it can reconquer its like Mexican territory. So let's see here. Wait for it. So yeah, Indy's on the right track here. So we have the Mexicans. They could go Nat Pop, or what this is, I don't know, or Vulkist. Hi, Indy. There's a lot of people. I was even just talking about you. I was literally saying that we gotta talk about what you said because you're right. America has a war in Fury, and Mexico's like really buffed up to the point where they could actually lose. And Fury Redux actually has a situation where the Americans break up if they do. So I want to set this on observe, and I'll just let this run in the background while we talk about this, and we'll see what happens. But the Mexicans have a reason to fight America. America has the potential to lose. In the event that they lose, especially in Fury Redux, they break up into small little warlord states. Maybe that's how we get rid of the USA. And it said, oh, that's not plausible. Okay, well, this is a double bind, and we're just going to let that happen, right? Is Vulkism alive somewhere? The Vulkism would have been alive in the South African native revolt. The Wanton Sulus or whatever would have been here. But I'm starting to think, you guys, I could be wrong. It might make more sense if the primary antagonist is Vulkist Germany, not the French. It's a very, very large far cry. But the way that I think that I would do this, when it comes to when I'm writing this script, which I haven't done yet, is it could be that I focus specifically on the Imperial Federation, how it would work, how it would have its internal struggles, who could become the prime minister, and how it would work. Okay, who is its antagonist? It could be that it's French, a business plot. Yeah, this will make America fascist again. Yeah, this is basically my motto, right? Could have it where it's the French and the Italians and all these people are dividing up influence in Germany, and it's all about that. And it could be a Cold War with no nukes. Nukes could be developed later because people are too busy doing other stuff. But then, why wouldn't they? The Soviet Union or the Russian Republic could get involved. I will map something like that out, and I'll be like, okay, we could do this, or we could do it where the Germans defeat their enemies. So it could be that instead of Germany being divided amongst itself like this, Germany could dominate Europe. And then it's a Imperial Federation that is still democratic-ish, but then is also having significant issues because they let the Germans get super powerful. And now, because of Vulkists, the interesting thing is, oh yeah, that's okay. The thing about Vulkists is, and I don't know entirely about this because I haven't looked into their ideology that much, but I don't think that Vulkism is necessarily white supremacist. I don't know. I don't want to be saying anything like that without understanding it. But especially because it's it's very obviously coded that way because it's the Wotan knot. It's it uses the exact same terminology as National Socialism. But I think that it could be that Germany could, within reason, be a primary motivator for decolonization in Africa. they could actually potentially reach out, make a connection with African, maybe even African pan-nationalists. They could get people together and be like, cast off the Western influence of like Christianity and rise up against your colonial oppressors. That could actually happen, and that's a pretty interesting and compelling scenario that we could actually see. Vulcanism is paganistic, not Christian or integralist. Yeah, so it wouldn't be Christian. There'd be like Catholic missionaries going in all these places, Protestant missionaries going in all these places. The Vulkists would be like, no, you should have probably stayed with your pagan traditions. Like, this is pretty crazy. I don't know. I really need to make sure that I'm not talking on my butt here. But it could be a pretty interesting take. So what I'm going to do, first off, does anybody have any other questions about this? Well, leaders in charge of the USA are to allow Ukrainian self-governance. Okay, so what I had going for me was that I was trying to map out the way that Führerreich has its thing structured in the beginning. I was even going so far as to be like, my point of divergence is that the Americans don't get involved in World War I, and the European, British, and French still win because of how they were blockading Germany. They couldn't, like, whatever, like, maybe the war was closer, I don't know, but that was the thing. And then the League of Nations and the 14 points don't change the way that the Europeans wanted to carve up Europe. So this is a colony. This isn't a League of Nations mandate of Syria. This isn't a League of Nations mandate of Arabia. This is the International Rhineland Cooperation. Then it's like, oh, but now they want it back. Oh, actually, it's a Rhinish separatist movement. It's not just a glorified economic war reparations, right? Poland exists, but it's like this because it's a Führerreich staple. They don't take Danzig. I should take a look at the description of Vulkism. Yeah, I will. Thank you. Who would pull in line 2? I'm not sure. But so anyway, if we look at, I wanna open up Hoi 4 now. So this is the Ukrainian state. So this is interesting. I'll read this in a minute, but you have here Ukrainians that, especially in this timeline, I think they're going to join the Stahl Pact. Germany's going to invade Poland and partition it between all their friends. France is going to guarantee Poland, and they're going to fight over it. If Germany beats Poland, well, we're talking about the old one now. So this is the Soviet Union. They control this territory. They fight the white movement. Maybe the white movement shouldn't even exist. Whatever. I think that the reason why I had it that Ukrainian had self-governance isn't that the Ukrainians actually had self-governance. It was a occupation zone to illustrate that they were a enemy that they're recently defeated, and people are trying to figure out what to do with Ukraine. And it could be that the British want to support an independent Ukraine, which is why they want the Greeks to annex the Straits, which is why the Italians and French then support a Turkish republic, which then has a fight with the Greeks, who then go closer to Britain, who then become a major ally in their alliance. Ukrainian revolts or whatever could actually mean that the British have a friend. This rump Hungary could also be a friend. There's a lot of like chessboards movements that could be played with this specific circumstance here, right? That was my rough idea. I don't know if I want to keep that. It could be that we do something different. And I'm already talking about completely throwing out the primary core of a Franco-British Cold War and instead having a ascendant Vulkist Germany. So hopefully that answers the question. We are going to go into that. Wait, there's one more. You have power against struggle, reformists against hardliners. Yeah, it probably would in this, right? Yeah, so the way that I'm going to do this video is I'm going to just focus on the primary core, the Imperial Federation, and then go in and talk about what would probably make most sense here, like German Reich and them controlling a bunch of Europe, spreading their ideology. But let's read what their ideology actually is. It's an ultra-nationalistic ideology founded in the wake of the Great War. unification of several Freikorps and veteran organizations named after the distinctive symbol they wear. Militaristic shared elitism of fraternal brothers inspired by the Bundish youth movements. They support the emergence of national aristocracy, merit, and vigor, which is foreign to the trenches of the Great War. Blah, 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 blah. The Vulkis nation is around strict legal framework, favors the strong executive power. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's a lot of blah, blah, blah. Modern. So hold on. Vulkis has set modern realities. Nationalism is seen as an antidote to the corrosive nature of modernity. And by using technology and progress, Vulkists want to overcome this modern age. Economically, Vulkists are firmly anti-capitalist and in favor of state intervention. You can actually get Pytel as like your vice ruler in this. Economically, Vulkists are firmly Prussian socialism. I need to look into that. They're generally in favor of a state-run economy. The Vulkist Gemeinschaft is the core aspect of the Vulkist German society, and it describes the shared ethos, history, culture, and... Hold on. I think that... No, do I want to listen to this one? Yeah, I'll just listen to this. No, I'll go back. Hold on. Where was I? We're reading about a very nerdy thing here. Yeah, okay, so... They're socialist anti-Marxists. Oh, what the hell? Who's this guy? Yeah, so it's not like a specific ideology framework here. So, interestingly, that they just took all this. Fix Polish-Czech border. Yes, I'm going to by removing Czechs and Poles from this thing and just making them German. Monkey's paw curls. Legionary Romania. Okay, so they're just... Oh, whoa. Look at this. Oh my god. They're going crazy. This is interesting stuff. But let's get back to it. So, the Vulkists, as I thought, they were, like, basically pretty close to IRL National Socialists. So, it might be that we focus on a different version of the ideology. Yeah, so actually, I believe that there is a mod attempt out there. It was like made public very recently. It's called like Führer's Lament or something. Yeah, Führer's Lament. I don't know if they have a invite link that they usually use. How do I do this? I'm just gonna put it in my chat here. Invite people to this. I'll just do 7 days because, yeah. Okay, here you go. So this is a mod. I don't know how much promise this has. Part of the thing that I find a little odd is that they voted on everything initially. Just shouldn't be the way that you do it. But if you want, this is a mod that I know that they have a Vulkis Germany versus an Imperial Federation Cold War. So I thought I'd shout them out. But I want to do it my way. So here, Paulina, you get your wish. We're going to do Imp Twi 3 Brit versus Germany. And we're going to make a big Germany. And I'm going to open up my color scheme. Which is here. Wouldn't Jordan be part of Israel? Maybe if you want to do that, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so we're just doing the usual stuff. Let's take that. It's a German Confederation, right? They didn't even take Switzerland. So why is Hungary involved in this? Whatever. I want to merge these layers. No, it's not letting me do that. Merge. No, I can't do that if I'm okay, sorry. Merge layers. I'm like a boomer now or something. That isn't what I meant. I know it isn't, but we were already talking about it. So we're just flip the whole script. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just an idea that I had, and I thought I would look into it. Why is Switzerland and Poland have the same color? Well, whatever. Like, it's gonna be the same anyway. Do I have a reference of IRL? Yes, I do. Should have just probably done that instead. So, German Confederation 2, Hungary. Yeah, no, this is Vulkist, Germany. Man, hold on. I wanna cheat. I wanna find my my shelved / canceled Germany wins World War II timeline. Where is it? Projects, Germania, Photoshop, live document. Okay, why is it called the mod the Kalterkreig of Ceasarreich? Oh shit! It's 'cause I meant to call it Führerreich. Yeah, oops. My bad. All right, so let's take this, and this, I guess, and move it in. There, problem solved. So the German Confederation. Oh my god. Get rid of this. Get rid of. No, that's what we want. Get rid of this. Get rid of Prussia. Get rid of. Probably even get rid of Poland. Get rid of Czechia. There we go. And then Metropolitan Germany, General Government, and the government of Böhmen and Mähren. Okay. So this is what their borders would look like roughly. I think they would include Denmark in it. I think that even in early Führerreich, you could core Denmark. I doubt the Federation would have kept the entire empire. I think after a decade or two, just the core territories: UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Rhodesia, Suez, and other territories. Yeah, I think that that might actually be what ends up happening in the most realistic terms. But also, I wouldn't call this a dead mod. More, I think it's been called. Yeah, I suppose you could say it's not necessarily a dead mod anymore if we're completely renewing it. So I don't know. It's just an idea. I thought I would look into this. So there wouldn't be like a. It depends on who leads it, I suppose. There wouldn't be a. There we go. There wouldn't be a whatchamacallit. There would be no like Burgundian state here, right? World War II ended in a stalemate. France survives, aligns itself with America, while Britain and Germany are friends. Maybe. Maybe. Let's just continue this thought experiment, though. So, is this aligned properly? I think so. The interesting thing about Führerreich Germany would be that Italy would also be Vulkist, right? Because another interesting thing too, Yugoslavia might exist as an ally, because I think that they often ally. Yeah, they do. In my map that I'm looking at right now, Yugoslavia is a German ally. Interesting stuff. So we'll just do this. Alright, see you later. Thanks for tuning in. PZ3 blah blah blah. You're involved with it? Yeah, sure. And bye, Paulina. Thanks for tuning in. Bye bye. So if we have a like Yugoslavian ally, then we have a very interesting like dynamic that could be occurring here. It could be that they try to take all of Slavia, or like the southern Slavs, so including Bulgaria, so then they could fall apart. And the reason why it would make sense that Yugoslavia would do that is if the German version of Vulkism, the blood and soil, everybody united thing, sort of ethno-nationalism, then it would make sense to have a pan-nationalist sort of thing going on here, right? So we'll be doing that. Problem is that I need to understand Vulkism is an ideology beyond National Socialism, but different, which might actually be, yes, extremely big Yugoslavia. In fact, I'm going... No, I'm not going to. I was going to look at my Stressa stuff, but I don't want to spoil any Stressa stuff. So, interesting thing here. Romania was a... What was that? What did I just delete? Lesser Romania. So I had a lesser Romania here somewhere? Huh? Whatever. Let's merge these layers together. And then make them all Yugoslav. They could even be taking out some Greek stuff too, like claiming Macedonia. They would definitely claim this Italian stuff. Let's see if I can get a better selection of modern day borders here. Yeah. So delete off Italy. Shift I, get rid of this stuff. Whatever wasn't selected, basically. And then do a border here. We're gonna have a very small Romania. Hungary is an ally of Germany like all the time in Führerreich. So we'll be taking the assumption that they are allies of Germany. Yeah, basically a Serbian nationalist wet dream. What type of stuff has been done in Yugoslavia? Well, it's gonna claim Macedonia. It's gonna go really hard, and then maybe the Vulkists control mainland Greece because of like there would still be some weirdos within Germany who would believe in the same sort of stuff that. Like Himmler and all those other guys did. So they would have like an attachment to this. So we're fixing Anatolia by making Turkey really big. Could even be like Ottoman Empire period, right? Maybe we just do that. No. Something to consider. Could just get rid of Italy. Why is the French state so gray now? What? What happened here? That's odd. Why is this gray? What's going on? Oh, there's a hue saturation. Exiles in North Africa. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Could even have them on the islands. Especially if the British are the people trying to prop up the old regime, right? So we could do that. We could also like really get Britain off the chain here. So India, I don't know if you're still here. Warlord America. Never mind this whole India BS. What if the British still had India? What if the entire reason why they let Europe burn is because they would rather see their Indian colonies stay around and also dunk on the Americans than make sure that there's a balance of power in Europe? That makes sense to me. We could do that. But we might want to consider changing the color scheme for this. I'm checking Führerreich again. Yeah, the Polish state is very rump, very, very lame, but there you go. Cindy's in Chicago? Yeah. No. They have Great Lakes, and they would be dominating it. In fact, I actually see the British, like, sphere of influencing here, Mexican sphere of influence here. Mexico breaks apart. It changes the status quo in the region. There's a unification government here. And then they fight the Canadians. Britain retakes America. Yeah, like, it could be that Britain has significant presence in America. I wouldn't say that they take all of it over, but it would be still enough to be like America warlord period. So we'll do that. But let's get this Yugoslavia thing sorted out. There's a lot of things that we could do with this, but it still is really interesting to do the French one too, so I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it to a vote after everything goes up. After this video goes up, right? The Warlord America? Well, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to me. This is a little controversial. Let's do this. And then... yeah, this is a bad idea. Why is this in the general government layer? It's a mistake. Hold on. Let's get rid of the bleed. What? Why is this white now? There's another hue saturation. Just somehow managed to get there. Weird. Canadian, New England, and Oregon, Washington. Yes. Yes. Exactly. So we want this to be in this kind of curse. That's the Bulgaria layer here, huh? But so be it, right? Wait, we need to select this too. Retaking the whole United States is impossible, but warlord states under influence, yes, I agree. We'll definitely do it that way. It sounds like Death of Liberty. Cool. Be interested in seeing what you did with this. So this is Serbia, and it could even have Macedonia and Albania. Yugoslav Freely Venezuela? Venezia? Maybe not. What are some good ideas for an alternate history project? I recommend doing points of divergence that are like people making a decision. Not so much like, what if this won? Because by saying, what if this thing won, you're already determining that they won, and you're not actually exploring anything interesting, in my opinion. So that's what I would recommend, to do a point of divergence that's like a single person's decision. Just made Germany World War II America, replacing America with the Imperial Federation. Yes, but I think that's more interesting. It'd be somewhat similar to the sun shining the world. It's for school. Oh. Is it like an assignment that you have? Because it's a pretty cool teacher, if true. So, if we have a Ukraine being a ally of the Germans, we could have a big Ukraine that could just straight up be even democratic, and then there's like a problem there, and they have to have a fight over it. Let's do this one just to keep it distinct. And let's make this. It also would make sense for Ukraine to be big, especially with this stuff. You'd even add Moldavia too, whatever that like SSR was. Yeah, they would claim this too, and they would claim this too. It'd be a very big, wholesome Ukraine, but then their friends are like, knock knock, better be aligned with me or else. Please no, don't hurt me. Could be the Czechoslovak analog, not too sure. Hold on. For school, it depends. Like, you might want to focus on your own history that you're learning in school. So whatever country you're from, you could do something specific for that. General government. There. Like if it was America, you probably would do something like, well, what if the British defeated the Americans? But then you have to figure out why. Why did the British defeat the Americans? How did the British defeat the Americans? Did Washington die? Would Washington dying during the Revolutionary War be enough to trigger it to not work out? Okay, what's happening right now? So the thumbnail has it where I am like British-French Cold War, like this. But I just talked about how a lot of things don't make sense here. We are making the Americans and the Soviets make decisions that actively make them not very smart. We have nations like Ukraine being, well, whatever. Like, there's just things that don't make sense with the way that this works out. But it might make more sense and have a better ideological divide to have Germany win World War II instead. And instead of it being just Nazis, it could be a different ideology, like Vulkism, but like a strain of Vulkism, because I think there's 3 different paths you can go down. No, I don't think you're shadow banned. I don't know why. I don't know why you weren't able to talk or whatever. But here, chat messages. You're not shadow banned, Akaran. You're so confused. Yeah, I mean, it's a double bind Cold War. You're bound to be confused. I don't blame you at all. So Belgium would not give up Ypres and Malbandy at least, because I'm pretty sure they would have fought. But I don't see them having a... what should I call it? I don't see them having an issue where they become like a integral part of Germany, right? There's a lot to think about. And I think that Friuli would also be given to Yugoslavia here. This is still the general government for some reason. So the way that you fix this, if you're ever doing this at home, where you have added stuff to a layer that you shouldn't have, you tolerance 1, contiguous 0 to select everything. You go into the layer that you know you aren't supposed to have it, you delete it. You go into the layer that you know you're supposed to have it. Select the layer is empty. Well, I'm trying to find the layer. Isn't this like the Bulgaria layer? Slovakia, Denmark, Ukraine, Belgium. What the hell? I'm just gonna put it on the. I'm just gonna have a home in the Ukrainian layer for a minute. And I'm gonna find their bowl. Serbia. So then you select this, you select this, you do this. Now you do the same thing we did before. Ukraine and delete. Now this is on the Serbia layer. This is the Ukraine. Done. The British. Oh really? I don't think it's blocked in my channel. It could just be like a could be a YouTube thing. I didn't set up any banned terms for him. So this is how I'm going to be introducing the situation in my video when I make it. It could be really interesting to have a Cold War with France. And we could make it so Russia is weak. We can make it so Japan is big. We could maybe even get America to be warlord states in the British versus French version of the Cold War. But there's a lot of problems with this that might not work. What we could do instead is do a German victory timeline. And this is definitely worth considering. Maybe we should focus more on the other one now, but I thought I would just get this started at least. So let's get back to the main thing. Let's talk about what we could do. So, wait, what? The point, like, what I'm going to do is at the end of the video, of my first video talking about this dead mod, I'll be like, okay, what do you guys want to see? Do you guys want to see the French winning against the Germans? No, you're never banned. I don't know what you're talking about. What? You might have been timed out once, but I don't think you were banned ever. I wouldn't want you to be banned. So you do something bad. Everyone's talking about like moderation right now. Are we confused about what this is going on here? I think, yeah, we probably did. It was a good thought experiment. But let's look at it this way. I don't. The Reddit was gone. I could probably re-upload them somehow though. But let's focus on this now. Yeah, maybe I will do both. So this is the problem with Fury Cold Wars. The Soviet Union, if the Russian Republic beats the Soviet Union, and then the Germans don't have a Eastern Front to worry about, then wouldn't the Germans win? Or do we just let it be that the Russians win in the East, there's a big power vacuum in the East, and then the French and British beat the Germans? It's too much like a, yeah, it does seem like a Tina Redux, you're right. But if France is not German aligned due to them holding out Imperial D-Day? Maybe. Some cereal. Europeanism and ideas of progressive barbarianism. Sorry, what was the first thing you said? BUF man being in charge of Britain for the German victory timeline. He's isolationist and focused on maintaining the empire. Yeah. It is interesting too. Mosley was pro European Union, so, or like a pan-European state. So it could be that he becomes like a refugee in France in this timeline. Let's get our mindset out of the German victory. We tried it, didn't work. So we're gonna do this, but it's really difficult to do still. So our conflicts that we have so far, the British are still holding on to their empire. They have decolonization problems here. We might not do Warlord India. We could have it be a complete Raj victory, or we could have it be, yeah, why not just have the Raj completely win, right? Yeah, France's end goal would be form a European Union. It would have a lot of trouble too when the Germans are like this. The fact that Germans are like this is also going to be a problem. There could be like a mid-game conflict where there's revolts that France has to put down. Whites, ex-Soviets, OTP, we need more split Russias. I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of split Russias in my catalog. So I'm going to make a copy of this. So we're going to make Intwi 3, where by eliminating the USA and the Soviet Union, we managed to actually get the Cold War solidified. You don't see the point of making Indian warlords. No one's want to play like two of them. Yeah. So we're going. That's the first thing we're going to do. So India edit is instead going to be merge layers. Raj. So we can do some interesting things with this. We could have the Pakistani movement be a separate region of the Raj as like a reform away from this big revolt that happened. Which means that you could have... Wait, this is Baluchistan and includes this. Yeah, why not? Really, let's just expand this hypothetical Pakistan, right? Is it Pakistan? Am I going crazy? What countries here again? Am I having another migraine? I'm looking at a real map. It's Pakistan. Did I say Pakistan? I'm going crazy, guys. We could even the problem if you're German is yeah, you're right. It does. I think it was worth a try. We could even make it like a big thing here, and this Afghanistan has some core British territory. Sweetie, I don't think so. Okay. So yeah, as far as I know about our history, the Pakistan, checking again, is it actually called Pakistan? Yes. The Pakistan movement was extremely pro-British because they thought that if the Indian people were able to get their independence on their own, they wouldn't give them independence. So the people who were like, I don't know, they're just worried about being oppressed by a Hindu majority. I don't know. I don't know too much about the history, so don't flame me, right? Big Afghanistan, no. A republic aligned with France. That's a good point. Oh, you know what? We could have Pakistan exist as a dominion. Maybe have like a southern cone that's still dominion, but then have an Indian republic that's French aligned, and then have a proxy conflict. Let's do that. Yeah, that makes more sense. And then it actually encourages Cold War gameplay. But the other thing is that it could be aligned to France. It could be aligned to Japan. Indian Confederation. I think that like the characters that the British are imperialists, so they would probably not want to do an outcome like that. Maybe they do reform it to be some sort of thing, but I remember there'd be a lot of talks about having an Indian dominion. So I think that they would do it like that. Portuguese Goa, yeah, there's Goa. Pakistan incorporates Afghanistan. Maybe, but it could be that, because I think that a lot of, I could be wrong, there's a lot of, like, Afghanistan's like split in the middle between two different cultures, and these cultures are actually really close or the same as Pakistan. I could be wrong. Could India be a social nationalist like Tino's Azad Hind? Potentially. But let's see here. So the Raj could be... Oh, and then there's this... The French Pondicherry, that's interesting. It'd be a big conflict there. Yeah, Japan would prefer their alliance with the United Kingdom than take India, I see. Hey, Inferno, how's it going? I think that there's a lot of British loyalists here too. So maybe we separate the separate administrative region of the British here. The only thing I don't know is what is the post-America collapse of Mexico look like? That's the one thing I don't know. I'd like to see if we can figure that out. But I'm pretty sure like all of them are nat pops, and it's like, what? Woke up just half an hour ago. Oh, I see. State between India and Nepal, Sikkim. With this? Oh, what? I don't know what this is. I guess it's just a warlord I forgot to color in. Yeah, okay. Odd. So let's take now. Why are they bleeding together? Oh, they have a... I don't know if this is the right border, but we'll just do this. Contiguous, still connected? No. Yeah, so it's connected to this stuff, but that's what we care about. So, but then there's a bunch of Muslim in Bengal, right? Like, how would this India Raj split? So the point of divergence is like kind of unknowns, unspecified. It would technically be like whatever the point of divergence of Führerreich is. It's a Cold War of Führerreich. But I would probably go as far as even branching off from making it a Führerreich successor and doing a divergence like Americans don't join World War One, and by not joining World War One and the Europeans still win, then they have free reign twice. So if you want my maps, at least the base maps that I use for reference, like these ones here, they're all in a Google Doc that's in the description of my video that you can check out. Like, it should be in this stream. If you can't find it, then I'll need to add it. Yeah, the idea was that it was a Führerreich successor. In the description I say Caesarreich, but I meant Führerreich. I really like this a lot better. We're already heading in the right direction. Bengal is definitely aligned with Pakistan, yeah. So then it's almost like, how does this Indian Republic even survive if it's surrounded, right? I don't know. It could be that there's no like British like dominion of India in the south here. That makes a little more sense. But the Pakistan would actually just be a dominion of the British Empire, just to keep it like very succinct like this. These are the imperialists, right? Should Nepal accede to the Orange India? I don't know. The Raj remnant only exists in Pakistan and Bengal. There's no southern portion. I agree. Let's do it that way. Great. This is a really great suggestion, you guys. I'm really glad that we had a stream today to figure this out. So I'll have it labeled as Raj, but by context it'll be very obvious that this is India. Indian Republic. Indian Republic, and there we go. And done. Great. So this is also a lot better already. Then, yeah. Maybe Bengal splits off the Pakistan and French of India. Oh, yeah. Like a Bangladesh. Like a Bangladesh Republic revolt. India supports it. Yeah, I love that. Isn't the point of divergence of Führer the Americans are so isolationist they never joined the war? Yeah, so I guess it's like my own version of Führer, I guess would be a good way to put it. Bengal absolutely should hold Bengal at all costs. Raj should hold Bengal. Yes, I agree. It makes sense. So this is the division that we have right now, where the British East India Company's first landfall, Pakistan, they're still aligned with the British. But the Indians are this. And they don't want that. They want to actually take over everything. And also the British wouldn't want to reconquer India. So it could even be that when they reconquer it, it's not a dominion of India. It could be some sort of other collaboration government. But that would be the main conflict here. And that makes a lot more sense. And it's not like, it's not too ham-fisted, I think. How big would the Bengal portion be? I think that this division makes sense right now. The British might need to keep Maharashtra. I was joking before, but Dravid into a split. So you think that they actually should have the South? Yeah, maybe. Pakistan should be the area where it breaks off in the Raj, not Bengal. Because Pakistan, the region, is the most recently conquered as a part of British India. That's a good argument. We could probably do that. But it does. I do think that it makes more sense to be loyal. French aligned southern princes. Oh. You know what we could do? We could have it be British, and then there's a like Pondicherry just sends a bunch of fucking guns in, and then it's a huge like what do you mean you're disrupting the balance of this? Blah, blah, blah. Everyone fights over it. Maybe. Yeah, Portugal, I think, would still keep going. I don't see why they wouldn't. And the Portuguese would be a British ally, so. So something that happens in Führerreich now, is that the British occupy, the French occupy the entire colony here. I don't know if we should do that. We could try it. French Congo, perhaps? Perhaps a little French Congo. Pondicherry expand a little over the coast. What? Oh, you mean like this is Pondicherry, right? Or are you saying that the French thing is not accurate? Yeah, it's probably what you're saying. Okay, let's look at everywhere else now. Let's make a big Mexico and not care about the consequences of our actions. What was that? I say some crazy stuff sometimes, don't I? You know what? You guys, since you guys have been here, you guys have a little treat. Let's look at when I was working a little bit on, what is it called again? Victoria and El Alamo. So I'm not going to explain anything you see here if there is anything weird. Yeah. So we're just going to take this. There we go. Problem solved. Oh, I really want British Columbia to have all of Columbia, but I don't know if that makes sense. And this will not be just two different. Come on. Texas won't exist as its own thing. Mexico's gonna conquer Texas. It's not the right layer. Let's get rid of Texas now. So we will have the Mexicans somehow miraculously defeating the Americans in a war. And then the Americans aren't going to be able to do anything about it. So then what's going to happen here? Give Alaska and New England to Canada or Britain. I can see them maybe annexing Alaska because it was a territory. Maybe not New England. I think that would be the British aligned warlord state, so to speak. Southern India is independent with French backing and funding. Hindu nationalist takeover in the north reinforces the Muslim majority regions like Pakistan and Bengal that stayed loyal to the Imperial Federation. It's a good idea. For my own notes, I want to keep. Hold on. Yes, I'm still watching. And I want to even make it so this loops. For some reason, I don't know if it's my. Thanks for confirming. Yeah, no problem, machine. It's not gonna repeat, so I wanna just, sorry, go to the beginning or something. There. Sorry. Let's get the south labeled as separate somehow. See if there's an administrative region that we can copy. Let's, California and Utah should be independent. Yeah, maybe. Well, independent from Mexico? I think that they would eventually, but maybe not at the beginning. So I'm just, like, it's not gonna look pretty. It's gonna be a straight line on a map. That's not Mexican. We're not Mexican territory here. This is just for me to remember that the south of India is still a little to be determined. Mason, it could, but I don't know. Yeah, British holding Boston is like so sacrilegious, right? Mexican Louisiana. I don't know about Louisiana. I think that'd be too far. The UK and France have nukes. I know that there's a discussion about it not being the case. It might make sense. It depends on what the gameplay of the scenario ends up being. Straight line, yeah, right. Give Oregon territory to the Imperial Federation. I'm thinking about that, honestly. Depends on how the British get involved. Like, do they really just go in there for the sake of going in there? It's like, hey, the Americans are really weak right now. Let's just get in there before it's too late. Maybe. Do I have one with the divided Oregon? It was like 1800s. I don't have the borders off the top of my head. It won't be accurate, but I will just go with these northwest. American rebellion in Mexico, yes. I think that would be what challenges the status quo. Maybe give only half of Washington state to Britain. Yeah, and I could do that by doing the historic river the river divide here. British Columbia, or the British controlled region, used to be like include this side of the river. I'm gonna make this a note because I don't know how to properly do this yet, but I do like this idea. We want some British Columbia going on here. Will the U.S. Pacific Islands be British or independent Hawaii? It could be independent Hawaii and Japanese aligned. IMP? Question mark? And then this as well. And then the naval presence of the Canadians and Americans should note that like no America, no USA, like there should be no U.S. government existing in Chicago that's like, I don't like the British Empire, because then the boats would just be like, boom, like that doesn't work. So if there is a American empire of some sorts that revives itself, it would be a revolt off of Mexico. Mexico would just completely shatter. Like there's no way that they'd hold on to this stuff. Then this American reclamation government or whatever could then fight with the British. But the question is, what other warlords would be here? New Africa, maybe? The thing, I'm not American. I can't think of like a list of a bunch of things off the top of my head for like all these warlords. But like Black League America should exist because that sounds awesome. U.S. remnant should be in the south. Problem is that the British have like complete naval dominance, right? Like, and if the British did get directly involved, it would actually be that there's no specific American reclamation government that exists on the coasts. A new CSA could actually be what is there. Yeah, New Africa surviving doesn't make much sense. New Africa could revolt against oppression from the Neo-Confederates. There would be a New England. The way that we'd probably do this is there's a New England because New England doesn't actually include New York State. New York State is like this. So this is New England. New York State, I don't know what they'll do. And now the chat's going crazy because it's America, right? This is some sort of like transitional government, but it's like, I want to be a part of the British Empire maybe. And so is New England. There'd be no room for a rival government in the coast or of any lake. Just because it doesn't make sense. The New Confederates, New CSA, exists here. This is where we could have low authority from potentially like a reorganized government of America or something. And the reorganized government of America could claim all this land. But just like how in Tino's Russia, there's warlords in Arkhangelsk, even though the actual border of the Reichskommissariat is up to the Urals. You could have some remnant here. France guarantees no, it wouldn't. The French would not guarantee the new CSA. The French would support any and all American reclamation governments and dunk on the CSA. There'd be no way that they would ever support that. This is Photoshop. It's kind of like using a blowtorch to light a candle, but it's what I'm used to using. Fordist Rust Belt? Oh yeah, a little Manchuria project here. Fordlandia. I love that. Ford going crazy over here, bending the knee to the empire. The reorganized government of America, like literally Latino, right? Like, oh, I love that. I love that. And then, so there could be some Midwest states here that are like, because it's just a direct border, it's like well, the Canadian security government, like just like literally like a general hanging out here. But then here is where the authority is low, and the American reclamation government wants to exist. The Mexicans have a civil war. They are dealing with American separatists. They go full, like, no way, Jose. They destroy the Mexicans. There's basically no way that the Mexicans would exist. The new CSA would have its own revolt, potentially New Africa. They would have problems with the Americans because the American reclamations would definitely be right, and the new Africans would definitely be left. They would probably fight each other over it. The British could capitalize on that. Ford is the American tabby. I think Ford is the British corporate state in Guangdong. Yeah. Fury. Well, hold on. Tino, China. Yeah. Dakotas might be lawless, incredibly low density. Yes. Would Quebec revolt? I can't believe I didn't talk about this. It's like the main thing I was most excited about with this mod. Hold on. Sorry, I just had a cough there. So the Imperial Federation would have all these things where like the United Kingdom exists as one administrative region, including Wales, including Cornwall, all this stuff. But Scotland, Wales, and Cornwall, maybe not Cornwall, Scotland and Wales would be like, I'm being oppressed by the United Kingdom. We go back here. The United Kingdom would be a state, but in the United Kingdom, there's also Scotland, there's Wales, so and then technically there's England, right? So you would devolve the United Kingdom, and then make separate prime ministers for each of these things, further federalizing the empire, and therefore solidifying the power of the prime minister. Hey, I like this idea. Then maybe even Ireland gets devolved. Canada could be devolved. It would remove Quebec. Quebec would be its own dominion. I don't know about South Africa. Maybe the Boers become their own dominion. But you'd have to like devolve a bunch of places to get rid of their like Dominion national identity and supplant it with the Imperial Federation identity. Okay, Shadowheart, I don't know what you're saying there. New Babylon. New Dakotas could be where an Omsk Komi type nation could be, potentially. American Ford is the American Puyi, yeah. Are the Channel Islands and the Isle of the part of the UK, or I think they'd still be part of the UK. Can I be South? I mean, I guess. Mexican-controlled American could be like Moscow. Yeah. So a race to see which empire collapses first. Yes. Hence the name Imperial Twilight. Hawaii should be controlled by Japan. I agree. They should either be like aligned or directly controlled. Japan could even be like they could either be an ally of Britain or they could have their own issues. But then the question is like, what are those issues and how do they do? Hold on, let's see crazy idea. Let's take a little intermission to see what's going on here. So it's 1947. The Germans control all this stuff. They're still fighting the Soviets. That's crazy. The Soviets are that's why they're fighting the rest of the world. That's crazy. I love that. 2 Titans, maybe. Yeah, this is really interesting. But let's get back to Photoshop. I want to close this though. It's nice to see that it's actually kind of balanced. I thought that wouldn't be too balanced. Good job for your developers. There is a plan to crown a British prince as the king of Poland to Czechoslovakia. What? No way, really? I'd love to see that. Hawaii does have an island called Kuele. No, I'm not ignoring you. I haven't seen any of your messages. Classic British move, straight line. I did comment on that one. This is the last one I saw. Maybe Louisiana should be separate state secured by France. There could be like maybe like a French peacekeeping operation in the Creole part of Louisiana during the collapse of the new CSA. Yeah, I like this. I like this division of America so far. So yeah, put the warlords on America, have the Mexicans collapse. Maybe there's a fight between who's the national claimant before they eventually go into Mexico. Yeah, so we had the Vulkism. So yeah, so sorry for the confusion. I tried to do a Imperial versus German Empire versus the British Empire, but people were pointing out it's too similar to like TNO. It's like TNO but wacky. There are other people who are already doing this. Nobody's done a British, French, and Cold War, so we're going to be doing something like that. Well, I don't want to talk about Death of Liberty when I'm doing a stream when I'm trying to make my own thing. If you want to share it on the Discord, I will try to take a look. But right now, I'm working on Imperial Twilight. Nazbol America is such a funny idea. Oh, I didn't even think about that. It could be. How's the situation in Russia? We were having them beat the Soviet Union. But if the Soviet Union managed to defeat the Germans with the Germans, then it would be they'd be too powerful. When we would want Russia as a Russian republic to win. So we'll have just modern day Russia borders for now. But that way we can start, once everything's on the map, you can actually really get into it. So let's see here. Imperial Twilight 3. I don't know how many times I've tried to revive Imperial Twilight, like just trying to figure out what would actually work best. Republican Russia. I know that you can go like technocratic Russia, and it could even be that it's like these guys are neo-Vulkists. That could be pretty interesting. How am I doing? I had a migraine for the first time yesterday. It was really, really rough. Need to go see a doctor about it. Being a doctor, have oh shoot. I missed some stuff. Alright. I'm good. Turbo weak USSR? I mean, I don't know. Like, what are you gonna do with a really weak USSR? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do here. This is kind of overwhelming trying to pick when you have so much divergence, right? You can't really rely on real history that much. Grasshopper relies heavily. A book when the man in the high castle. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I hope it is rare too. It's really not great. Hyperborea. Thanks. After Steelman, they just have a succession crisis. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that the Stalin could... I actually like this situation more because Stalin was expelled from the Soviet Union and then Russia takes them over. And then Stalin's just like, I was right. You guys were wrong. I'll look into it. I just don't know. We'll see how people respond to it. It could just end up being too TNO related, but we'll focus on Imperial Twilight right now. So, Imperial Twilight was a Führerreich Cold War that was attempted to be made really early on, like 2019. This is the Red Order, don't worry about this. And they had some crazy things like this. I was involved in it early, and this is my attempt to revive it. Green is unmapped and unlabeled. It's not super green. Yeah, I played a Crusader Kings game where I conquered China as a warlord and then took over all this area. It was really fun. Yeah, so let's focus on this now. So we have the German conflict. It's self-explanatory. The British are involved here. The Italians are involved here. France needs to keep Italy on their side. Britain wants to get Italy on their side. If France doesn't manage to get enough German states in recognizing their German Confederation, which wouldn't include the Rhineland, then there's no hope for the French to form the European Union. We have Chaucy situation in German October. Yeah, maybe. Then we have this Turkish problem where the Greeks want to like take Pontus. They want security on the coast. They don't want a Turkish republic that has a lot of power. The Italians and French do. They have a fight over it. The Stalinists are consolidating really heavily. They're able to trade their oil probably with France because Britain has this oil here. They would still be able to trade with Romania too. But the British want the Straits. They want Greece to be on their side. France and Italy don't. They probably would even get Bulgaria involved. It could be another way to start a big civil war. I know that you would like my help with that. You've mentioned it before. So, Finland here. Finland would probably be a greater Finland, actually. I have a greater Finland here I can just pull. Are German states separated or form something like a confederation? That's something that I think we're trying to figure out right now. When we were initially working on it, I think the idea was always to have it be divided, but there's no way that would actually last for a long period of time. It could even be that there's a like second 1848 where a bunch of people try to unite Germany again, but then everyone wants their sphere of influence in Germany still, so then they have to fight over it, and that could be an interesting conflict there. Having Russia be Neo-Vulkis, I think is actually really interesting, because then it's like the victims of the atrocities of the Vulkists just end up adopting their ideas. It's like, what's going on? You'd think that nowadays there wouldn't be Russian neo-Nazis, but there are. It could be something, it could actually just be a Russian empire, but then that would be like British aligned, but maybe that's what we want? And then maybe that's why the British are trying to get into the Black Sea and are supporting the Greeks so heavily because of their cultural and religious ties. Yeah, if they have this entrance, the British could be like island hopping Greece through here, support Russia. Ukraine could be... The Ukrainians would be like Stahlpakt aligned, because they usually are, but you could make them democratic and French. You could have the Romanians... This is like a really greater Romania, so I don't know. Zaporozhye? Yeah, I want to see a Zaporozhye too. What if Russia is Eurasian? Oh yeah, maybe. France or Britain intervene? Yes, they would. It would kind of be like a Long Yun sort of situation where there's the unification that the people want, and then there's the unification that the people who actually have influence over the governments want. And in the event that the French or whatever, they have an agreement on how to reconsolidate Germany, it would be a very weak puppet government that has no chance of actually being independent. So Britain and France fight for Russia's friendship. If the Republic survives, it aligns with France. If they go Vulkist, it aligns with Britain. Yeah, maybe. I would see that the British might... Yeah, maybe in a realpolitik measure they would align with the Vulkists. That could be interesting. But it also might make sense for them to be empire, right? Especially if the... Oh, I guess the Russian Empire fights against the Japanese, don't they? Want to split Siberia to make Russia just a regional power? That might work, but then how did that happen? Did the because I know that the Soviets can peace out with the Vulkists to fight Japan. I think that they can do that. Do they do that, but then the Vulkists die, and then there's just like a weird power vacuum in Russia that gets filled in by something else? But wouldn't that something else be the Soviets that they pieced out with? So then we just have a Soviet Union in Russia again? And did we not want to have it, Japan be extremely powerful as a British ally? Tsar survival in Russia that supports Britain could be cool. Buy again. Novoskalim being small, Eurasian is slightly bigger. Maybe. To the Raj, what we had here was a ceasefire between the Indian Republic and the Braj forces, which would be strongest in Muslim majority areas. In the south, we're not sure what to do with yet. Great Turkestani revolt forces Russia back across the Urals. Well, supported by who is the thing? Like, the only people that might be able to do it are like the Ottomans, but they're being occupied. China and Japan are in a mini Cold War, while with China being French aligned, with Japan being British aligned. I actually kind of like that idea, but then what was Japan doing all of World War One? Maybe they were island focused, with the Americans having a big power vacuum. Maybe. Could still have like a split China, but then everyone has a split China. Hold on. Russian Empire versus Japan is a match we've seen the Japanese win. Yes. Non-Soviet Russia making an Asian imperial power. This feels unrealistic for Japan. Yeah. Is China unified? It would probably be unified under Japan. Did I have a map of this already? Did I really not have this? Maybe I had it mapped in previous things, but it's not here anymore. Do I have something that I can pull on that has subjugated China? The only thing I can think of is I really had to compile this all soon, so I don't have to be searching my mind and a bunch of different Photoshops. But this is KGB, so we'll just be pulling in their subjugated China. But then did Japan take Vietnam? Maybe they did. What do you guys think? Do you think that Japan would have taken Vietnam? We'll just erase the stuff that's obvious, not correct. Germany, East Asia. Oh well. I'm gonna keep this one at least, and then delete the rest. So Control-Shift-I to inverse selection. Delete Germany, East Asia, and Japanese Vietnam. And then we just select that off. Now, League 8 province is this. This is like Kaiserreich coded. So we're just gonna merge the layers, and we're going to apply this color scheme to the south. Nani? There you go. Maybe the Kuomintang could be isolated in the countryside. Yeah, maybe. Maybe the Japanese could reunify in China and ironically proclaim Chinese empire. Oh, like Japan is the Chinese emperor? Like they took the hegemony, like all CK3 style? Maybe. Make Imperial Federation go its military development path. Yeah, maybe. That was actually what we did before. So then the democracy style of it is less solidified, and it encourages more revolts, and it causes friction with the British and French. Yeah, we'll do that. Would Japan go to war with Britain for Indonesia? No, because the British and Japanese would be friends. I think that's something that canonically would happen in Führerreich. China ruled Eastern capital, maybe. Mongolia is free, potentially. I don't know how it works in Führerreich right now, but we don't have to be a Führerreich continuation, so we can do whatever we want. but we do want to honor it somewhat. Whatever's best for the scenario, really. I guess this means that we could have Twantan Suyu revolt here again. That could be fun. It's actually shaping up pretty well. I thought I didn't have something going on here, but I'm glad that I went through that German part of the video with this live stream, so that I knew that I wouldn't. Like, it just doesn't make sense to honor Imperial Twilight that way. You could still have something like that. And I'd like to see what that other mod development team does. But yeah, what do we got here? I know that old Führerreich, so not this branch of Führerreich now. Before the Führerreich team sort of collapsed, they brought up this idea that was brought up like once or two times with the British Egyptian Empire. So you know how the British Raj was like, we're the Indian Raj now? Like the British Emperor is the Raj of India? Like they used the local title to get legitimacy for their rule. There was an idea for the British to sort of co-opt the Islamic movement by getting all of Egypt under a Muslim, like all of the Muslim Middle Eastern regions that were under the British Empire to be administered by a Egyptian empire that would not necessarily claim the caliphate, but would be the Muslim region administrative sector of the British Empire, like the Indians or the Hindus. Obviously the idea is not very good. Maybe they go through with that idea this time. I wonder what would happen here. Would the French actually be the Israel supporters? Maybe. British Caliphate is funny. Twantan Suyu is my babe, and admit shouldn't have a coastline. Most native populations are concentrated. Yeah. But then how is Japan going to support them, right? Why remove Big Hungary? Wasn't that done? Hasn't done in any big mod yet. It's because before, I think Hungary wasn't a German ally, but now in Führerreich it is, and if we're a supporter of Führerreich, then we should, but it is also pretty important. Yeah, maybe we should have a Big Hungary, because that was what that original version of the mod did, and we shouldn't be a Führerreich successor. We should only be doing a inspiration of Führerreich. Could be something we do. It would make things maybe a little more interesting, but then yeah, it would restore that whole like Polish-Czech joint operation against Hungary to form Zapadoslavia again. Will South America have content? Well, the Twantan Suyu revolt, the native revolt, was my attempt to add that there. So maybe we keep that again. Maybe they destroy the whatchamacallit? What is it called? Bolivia. They destroy Bolivia, get a coastline. Japan's aligned with them. France supports other people in that area to try to prevent Japanese, British aligned whatever's in there getting too powerful. An Arab revolt in the Imperial Federation, yeah, we can see that. Second Paraguay War, yeah, maybe. She has left it. What? You're gone again? You're back again, Polina. What's going on? Can't stay away, can you? I'm just too compelling. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry. I think I do need to get going soon. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Why is I don't know if Japan should have Indochina or not. Maybe Japan had a fight with France. Maybe Japan occupied it for security reasons. Maybe there was a independence revolt in Indochina that France couldn't deal with because they were fighting Germany that Japan now has in its sphere of influence. I don't know. It seems kind of like a strategic vulnerability to have the British Empire with its friend here have this, but maybe that's what compelling. Japan would have the Philippines because they would take it over from America. Thoughts on Paraguay align with Japan due to their forced Guarani nativization policies? Maybe. And there could be some sort of like weird like Japanese involvement here. Made an American Warlord map. You want to take a look? That's awesome. Thank you. Weird East China. Yeah, I know. We probably should have more China solidified, but I don't have the time to really map it out right now. Oh yeah. I like this idea of a Warlord America and a like very good proxy conflict here. We have a proxy conflict here, proxy conflict here. Africa, its decolonization will be very significant. Don't know what we do with South America. I really want to go with this like native revolt and Japan supporting it. We could even have the British controlling the South, like just straight up of this Iran. Don't know what would happen to the rest of it. I really like Hermit Kingdom Stalin fighting with Russia and fighting all of its neighbors, and it potentially being a real big powerhouse. Not sure what to do with the Ukraine yet. It could be that Poland annexes a lot of stuff over here because Belarus is like Vulkist in Ceasarreich now. Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, still don't know about this stuff. Spain would just be French aligned. The Republicans win, and France has an ally in Spain. Italy being on both sides could even mean that there's an Italian civil war between British and French alignment. That could be pretty interesting to see. I will consider having a big Hungary again. I really like big Romania, but big Hungary could also be interesting for the benefit of having Zaporozhye exist. The German Confederation, the Prince of the Promised. Yeah, so there was there's a Ceasarreich event. I don't know if Fuhrer Redux has it anymore. It's called the Marriage of the Deposed, where it's not explained who married who, but the Hohenzollerns and the Habsburgs, their primary heirs, directly marry with each other. So their children would have claims to both the German and Austrian empires. And that could be very interesting to see if they try to reconquer that. They could be like a warlord in this weird interregnum second 1848 in Germany thing. Am I interested in sci-fi mods? Yeah, maybe. It's a little hard to wrap my head around. I'm really good at using my history knowledge, so then having to familiarize myself with a certain flavor of sci-fi could be a little hard for me to wrap my head around and make a good video, but I'm not against it. There could be the Imperial Federation, yeah, with Ukraine. That could actually work, and then you could have like the half of Ukraine occupied by Russia, and then having a Ukrainian revolt that the British would support to destabilize the French ally Poland could actually be a good way to do that. There was a Hungary-Romania plan. Maybe we could do that. That makes sense. In fact, like, wouldn't Horthy be considered a collaborator with the Romanians because he was on the Romanian side during the put down of the Hungarian communist revolt? That could actually work out pretty well. Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that we can do here, and that really helps. This is really helpful, actually. Like, I could make a really big video about this now. I'm to the Baltics. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Okay, well, I'm feeling a little weird now, and to make sure that I'm not terrible, I'm going to stop the stream now. So, thank you all very much for watching. Your suggestions have been great. I'm glad that we solidified that we are just doing the Franco-British thing, and that there is something to go off of here. So, thanks for bearing with me while I did that Germany thing. I'm sorry if it was confusing. American exile Philippines, yeah, I like that. Like a Philippine, like the American forces in hiding take over the Philippines and try to reconquer America. I like that. Yeah, thank you. I should be okay. It turns out that I did have a family history of that. I just didn't know. But before I was worried that it was something more severe. Okay, well, thank you everyone.